So my name is Liz and welcome to Painting with Liz, and today we're going to do this landscape today, and welcome to our first timers. And let me just tell you that there's not anything you can do wrong. There's not anything that we can't change if you don't like it. So there's not anything that you've done or that you are going to do that I haven't done myself. So let me just put you at ease, okay? We're going to start out by prepping our canvas. We're going to do a wet on wet technique today. I'm going to bring you something to wet our canvas, and then we're going to use that to kind of prime our canvas, and it's going to keep our canvas wet while we put the oil paint on it. And there's different things that you can do to wet the canvas depending upon what effect you want. Like you could put just a clear oil on it, like a liquid or an oil. Today we're going to use a liquid white. You could use Magic White by Bill Alexander or Liquid White by Bob Ross. So the white softens your color. So it depends upon what effect you want. If you wanted a vibrant color like oranges and reds, you would use an oil so it doesn't change the color. But today we want to soften our color, so we're going to use a liquid white so it softens our color, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go into the white, and I'm just going to bring this around to you and dab your canvas. And it doesn't matter how you spread it. We're just going to put a thin coat of this on our canvas. Now this is different than the white on your palette. This is thinner. They use some magic formula to thin it out, and so the paint on your palette is thicker. So we're going to spread it, put a thin even coat. It's going to get into the teeth of the canvas, and what this does is it doesn't stain the canvas with color. If we were just to go on to a dry area and put our paint, the paint would stain it. This is going to go into those teeth and protect the teeth with this liquid white. So if we want to change something, it makes it very easy to change it. And then it allows us to blend our colors very easy. It also allows us to use less oil paint. Okay? So I'm going to bring this around to each of you. And then while I'm doing that, you guys can introduce yourselves. Okay? So let me dab your canvas, and then you can just spread it around any way. And after I get it spread every way, I kind of do some long strokes. That just kind of evenly distributes it to make sure I don't have a big gob anywhere. So I'm going to go into the very first color, and I'm going to take just the very tip of my brush. This is called Paynes Gray. And I want to get just a little bit. A little bit will go a long way. Now you can have your sky be as dark as you want, but I want light and dark areas. So a little bit's going to go a long way, okay? So I'll get some and I'll just kind of put it on. Soften as you go. And I'm going to go down about a third of the way in my sky. So I'm going to soften away those brush strokes as I work. Now some people really like brush strokes in their sky. So if you like the brush marks, then you can leave them, okay? If you like them, leave them. But if you don't like them, then you can just go across it and soften them away. It's about putting the paint on the canvas the way that you like it. So if there's something you don't like, then you can let me know, and I'll be glad to help you. But if you like what you have, then leave it. Everybody sees nature differently. That's what's so cool about art, is there's no right or wrong. It's just putting it and doing it the way that you like it. So when you get a little bit of color on it, then look away from it. It looks different when you back away. So maybe I want a little bit more color. And then I'm going to look at my picture and go, wait a minute, now I'm going to have some white clouds. If I make my sky really, really light, my white clouds are not going to show up because white on white is not going to show. So white clouds on a real light sky isn't going to show up. So I'm going to make sure I put in a little bit of darker spots somewhere on that canvas in my sky. I'm just going to go back, take a little bit of dark, not everywhere, because I don't want just a solid dark sky. So I'm just kind of tapping in some dark here and there. Kind of looks like clouds already. I'm just tapping it. I'm just tapping my brush with some dark. Get some dark, kind of tapping it. I'm going to wipe my brush. And then I'm just going to go across real, real softly. If I keep going across, it's going to blend to a solid color. So it would have defeated the purpose of me putting that dark on. So now I've got dark and light colors in my sky. If you like the brush strokes, then you can leave it. If you want it softer, then you can wipe your brush and you can go across real, real light, and that will soften it. So it just depends upon how you like it. So while we've got that blue on our brush a little bit, we're going to take and we're going to put in some water. Now, water's made to be flat unless there's a reason for it to fall. So I'm going to take that blue, and I'm going to start from the outside, and I'm going to pull straight in. And you can have different shades in your water. I would go lighter and then add dark. You could have this water, maybe you don't want land at the bottom, maybe you just want water. Maybe you want it to be a little pool, and so you're going to have land come across. Maybe you want just a little bit of water and a lot of land. Maybe you don't want very much land and you want a lot of water. I don't know what this is going to look like for you. So you decide by pulling this water flat and pulling across. So I would do a little bit. Now right now, I don't know where anything lives in here. So I'm going to be really close to my sky. And the reason is, if I leave a great big area for land in the middle, then I'm committed to putting a great big piece of land in the middle. But if I come really close, I may decide I don't want land here. Okay? It could just be sky and water right here. Or I might just put a little tiny piece of land. So you want to always finish before you go on. Does that make sense? Okay? Because you might change your mind and decide, I don't want to put all that land there. I just want some water and that there. But if you leave a great big area of white, then it's harder to match your colors and change up and when you have to move on. So I'm just going to brush it in a little bit. It's blending with that liquid white as it gets closer to my land. All right. So I think I'm good with that. Let me hold it away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you've got your level. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if ever you're not sure, you can look at your water. Is it the same as like the top of your canvas? A lot of times I'll do that. Or you could take your knife blade, and your knife blade is flat. Is that the same as your water?
Okay.
And it's flat.
Okay.
So if your knife blade was flat and your water was on an angle, then that's telling you right.
Yeah. All right. Now, if you have none clouds in here.
No. Okay. Nope, not yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go into the white, and I'm going to go into the end. If I go in the middle, if you guys keep going in the middle, you're just going to have blue, your white's going to be blue, and you're going to want more, and I'm going to have to tell you no. And then you're going to get it. No, I'm just teasing. But we're going to go on the end because we want a lot of paint, and it is going to turn our white blue fast if we just go in the middle. So we're going to start on the end each time. And I do want a lot of paint on that brush. I do want a lot. I want to think big, fluffy clouds. If I have little paint, I'm going to have see-through clouds. So I need a lot of paint on that brush so I can leave it. No paint, I can't leave it. Thick paint, thick clouds. Thick paint, thick clouds. Now I want you to roll your shoulders. I want you to get nice and loose, loose and free. Loose as a goose. I want you to hold that brush on the end. Okay, if you hold that brush up here, it's going to be gripped tight like a pencil. Okay, tight, you can feel it. Back here, it's loose. I want it to be loose. Loose as a goose. And I want to kind of roll it. You can tap it some, but you are not drawing. We're not doing this. Okay, we're not drawing. I want you to let it kind of roll a little bit, kind of let it play on the canvas. You don't know what it's going to do. I'm going to take that brush, I'm going to wipe it off. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going back over it. I'm not panicking going, that doesn't look anything like a cloud. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to load it back up with some more paint. I'm going to go back and I'm going to kind of go on it. I'm going to roll it in another area and I'm going to put some more gobs on it. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out here. Look at all of it. Looks like a mess to me. Okay? I want lots of thick paint on there. It's all right. Trust me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that big brush that we wiped out. All right, we're going to hold that brush back on the handle because we want to hold it really soft. And we're going to use the side of the brush. And you're going to think that you're going to touch a baby's cheek with that brush. Okay, you want to go very softly. Okay? So we're going to go real soft. And we're going to go up like we're going to arch. Like we're going to arch. And we're going to touch the outside paint that's sticking out. The paint that's on the back of the canvas, we don't want to touch it. Only the paint that's sticking out. So we're going to arch it up, arch it up, arch it up. And we're going to arch. And then we're going to brush it across. Real soft. And then you can even arch up one more time. And that's going to kind of set that in. Okay? Yeah, you can go across. Yep, real soft. Now, if I keep going across and go up, or if I go hard, you get more of a hazy cloud. Okay? And then if you want some more, then you can do it again. So let's say I got that kind of hazy, so maybe I want some brighter there. So I can take my brush and I can put in, let it roll, and then I can do that again. So you can have as few or as many clouds as you want. Okay. Well, you've got good hazy clouds. Okay. Do you see your hazy clouds? Okay. So now what you can do is go back, put some brighter ones in. So go back and like in here, in here, add some brighter ones, and then holler at me and I'll hold your hand and we'll go lighter. I'll show you. Okay? All right. So what you can do is go here. Oops, and go soften. then you can take a look at it. Okay, now is that enough, or did you want more?
Yeah, that's plenty. That's why
Okay.
I think that's what I think I covered up too much blue.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take and wipe that brush out. And I'm going to go into that second color is the dark sienna. And I'm going to get just a little bit of that on my brush. And I'm going to go right up to that sky. Now, I'm not going to come over on this side. I'm just going to stay over here where the land is and where it comes around underneath the water. If you want your land to be a very light color, then you want very little of this on your brush, okay? Otherwise, you're going to have a dark color of beach, okay? And what you can even do is you can start it down here because we're going to have greenery down here. And see how I just had a tiny bit, but see how dark that is? So you could start it down here. It's going to mix with that white, and then you can work your way up. Now, when you get up here, you're going to pull from the outside. I don't want to touch my water's edge yet. I'm just going to pull from the outside and lift off until I don't have any or I have very little brown on my brush. Because when I pull into that water, I want it to look like the land is under the water. So I want these two to really come together nicely. So I'm going to pull this land right to that water's edge. And I don't want a straight line. Okay? Nothing in nature is perfect. There's no even numbers. There's no straight lines. So I'm not going to just come here and stop. I'm going to just gently lift it off, and I'm going to do it unevenly. Okay? So I'm going to have this come around. You can have different shades of brown in here. Oops, I got a little hair. I'm just going to kind of flick that little hair off. I'm going to bring this land all the way around the bottom. Just make me a little lake today. If I wanted my water to come all the way off and go to some mystery place, I could. But today I just want to have a little fishing lake, maybe, or a little swimming lake that I could go to. I just want to be there today. It looks like it's going to rain outside, so this sunny little day, this is a nice place to go to. Read a book, sit outside. Paint. Okay. So yes, this is the second color on your palette. It's just a light brown. Okay, so I'm just going to take that. No, that looks good. Uh-huh. No, nothing even.
Okay, I'm gonna say I'm leaving it.
Yes.
I'm not gonna add anything.
No. Yeah. No, that looks good. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this land in back here. This land that's right here between our sky and our water. And you can do it however you want. You can have all trees, you could have all hills, you can have a mixture. You could put the hills over here and trees on both sides. Doesn't matter. I don't know how the land lives where you're at. And I gave you a couple of brushes. So you could use your fan brush. Some people are a fan of a fan brush. I gave you a filbert brush that's kind of rounded, and then I gave you a small brush, so you can try the small brush. I'm going to use the small brush to start, And there are all different sizes of that small brush. I'm going to go into the green, but you can add some of that light brown to that green, so you can change your color up. You could even add some blue to that green. And what I'm going to do is kind of start in the middle, and I'm going to do some little taps. I'm just tapping straight down. And I'm just going to put in like some little bushy type trees. Now maybe I want to do a little hill instead of some little trees. So to do a little hill, I can just pull my brush. And if it's real light in color, then it's farther away. Small and light is farther away. So maybe I want to put a little bit darker one in front of it. So I'll get a darker color and see how that one looks like it's closer. And maybe I want it to look like there's some grass on it. So I could tap and maybe put a little bit of grass on it. Or maybe I just like it smooth better. So you can kind of play with that hill if you want hills. Maybe I want some more trees. And so I added a little bit more brown to it. And I'm just doing these trees. They kind of almost look like little fence posts. You could do like just straight pull, just kind of pull your brush straight down. It's more about the top than the bottom. You just want them all uneven. And then you can make them a little bit wider by tapping. Oops, I don't want a big chunk of paint or I'll have a really big fat one. Or maybe you want a great big one in there. I don't know what you want. Maybe I want another hill over in here. See how you can decide as you go? You're not locked into anything. Maybe I want to put these on a hill. Ooh. See, I can just change my mind as I go. So I'm just taking my brush and I'm kind of angling it up so I can climb up the mountain, and then angling it back down so I can get down the mountain. If you get up it, you got to get down it. Just lots of practice. And then maybe I want a few little trees over here. Or maybe some little bushy looking things. You know, when you look at trees and stuff far away, all they look like is little bushy things. You know, now that you start painting, you're going to start looking at nature different. You're going to see that when you look at trees, there's all these different green colors, or there's all these different shapes, and trees really do look like what you make them. And you're going to look at clouds different, and it's just really cool when you start painting. You notice so much more in nature than what you did before you started painting. I think that's the best thing about painting, is the things that you notice after you start. So I would just do a little bit and then look at it. Let the canvas talk to you. What do you want where? What lives where? The bottom, don't worry, we're going to blend the bottom all out when we get done. So you could bring that down. And then that's going to put that in front. And then this one here, see how it's looks like it's separated?
Yeah.
So you can make that one a little bit darker.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
see,
did that nice.
so how just that darker color
Yeah, the darker
kind of
color
separates
does
it.
separate Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I'm just going to take that brush and I'm going to take on the very bottom edge and I'm just going to lightly blend that out, kind of straight out and kind of shadow it. You can just lightly wiggle that bottom edge. It doesn't have to be a straight edge, but I'm going to just kind of slightly jiggle it back and forth. And that's going to give me a bottom for my land, and it's going to give me some shadow underneath. It doesn't have to be a solid straight edge. If you get up into your hill or up into your land, you may have to fix what you did, but be careful because like where I went back up into my hill here, I may have picked up a whole bunch of green paint, so I'm going to wipe my brush off before I go back down into my water because I want some shadow, but I don't want a whole bunch of green underneath it. Okay? So I'm going to put some shadow underneath there. You can have as much or as little as you want. Sometimes there's a mirror image for a shadow. Sometimes it's a dark reflection. It just depends on the time of the day. So remember when you're painting, you're telling a story. So what kind of story are you telling your viewers? Now this picture doesn't have any water lines underneath it, but if you want to put a water line underneath it, you can. And so we're going to do the big water lines after we do some underneath it. So don't jump ahead and do these yet, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to get just a little bit of that white on that small part of that blade. And I'm just going to start where my water starts. I wouldn't have water lines on the land over here, but where my water starts. And at the top of the reflection, the bottom of the land, I'm just going to go ahead and just cut across, kind of unevenly, a little bit of a reflection. So the bottom of the land, it doesn't have to be a straight line because where the water laps, it would be uneven, but just a little indication of a water line. So I'm just getting a little bit of white, just setting my knife. I'm just kind of putting a little bit of an indication of a water line. Mm-hmm. Since you guys are having so much fun with the knife, you are. We are going to do some big water lines. We're going to have that water kind of lapping onto the beach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the big part of my blade and I'm going to cut across it and get a roll of paint onto my knife. And then I'm going to set my knife in here and it's on a little bit of an angle. And I'm going to press on that knife and I'm just going to jiggle it back and forth. As I work my way down, I'm going to press down. That squeezes that paint out. Now when no more paint will come off, I'm going to wipe my blade off. I'm going to get another roll of paint. And I have a roll of paint on my knife, okay? So I'm going to set it. I'm going to squeeze and press on that blade. I'm pressing on the back of the blade. And I'm pressing, and as I press, I'm flattening. So I set it about this much of an angle, and when I'm done, it's flat against the canvas. Okay? Does that make sense? So I start it, and I'm about at this angle, and when I'm done, I'm about this angle, okay? So I'm about this angle when I start, and I'm about this angle when I'm done, okay? So I want some more. Yep, you can start. I want some more, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, down to here. So I'm going to set it, and I'm going to jiggle, and I'm keeping my blade flat. This blade here is not going on any kind of an angle like this or this. This blade has to stay flat because it is water. I don't want it to look like it's going to run off the canvas. Okay? Now, right now, it looks like there's water both sides. I'm going to fix this in a minute. I'm going to come check you guys, and then I'll show you how to clean this up a little bit. If you like them, you can leave them. If you get them too uniform, too much exactly, then what you can do is you can take a clean knife. Okay, move your finger. And you can set it on it. And you can just slightly move it, just back and forth, jiggle it, and you can pull it out, okay? All right, so now that we've got all of that done, now we're going to go to these two fence posts right here. Now these fence posts can be as big or as small as you want, and I will let you have a choice. You can use either your knife, your filbert brush, or your smaller brush to put these fence posts in. I'm going to go to the dark brown, which is right after the green. And I'm just going to start with that smaller one first. And I'm going to pick up some of the color that's already on the canvas. So I'm going to do that small one. And then right under that right after that small one, I'm going to go right next to it, and I'm going to do the bigger one. By doing that small one, it kind of lets me see how big I want to do the big one. And so I'm going to look away. I am going to make it darker, but this allows me to look at it and see, the shading. Do I like the shading like that, or do I want it a solid dark color? Because I'm picking up that liquid white that's on there. So that's cleaning up my liquid white. I could have pulled out the liquid white that's on there, but I'm going up with this, so there's no sense to doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe my knife off, and I'm going to go back with this dark color. If I want to use a brush, I can. But I like how the knife gives me all of this shading, this different color. Right, like the grains. And then I can look at it. Do I want that smaller one bigger? So I can change it. I'm not locked into anything. I still have plenty of, decisions. I can change anything. I can make that big one smaller if I want to. So I think I'm okay with that. If I want to straighten that edge up, I can straighten that edge up. I can cheat and turn my canvas sideways or upside down. You can hold your canvas when you paint. I do that a lot. Flip it around to whatever's easier for you to work on it. Okay. If you want your wood to look lighter, you can add some white to it. You can add a little bit of white a little bit of white and light brown right in the center there, or to that smaller one, just to change the wood coloring to kind of separate the two logs. So it looks separate, looks like two different logs. So you could have one darker, one lighter. I don't know what they look like. Maybe you don't want logs. I don't know. I don't know what's in your world. Okay, so on that fence post, you can do a couple of things. You can take that liner or your small brush, and you can either use your dark or you could use your light, depending upon the color of your posts. I'm going to use white for the sake of, so you can see what I'm doing. And you can do a rope, like you could do a rope around the top here, kind of make a circle around that top. So it looks like a little rope going around the top. And then maybe bring it down from one side and kind of curve it around. And I don't want it just to go straight across, but think about like an old rope kind of hanging down, be kind of crooked. And I don't know how many times it might wrap around that post, but it might be a couple of times. You could do it on just the big one, or you could do it on that little one too. You don't have to do it at all. I don't know if you've got a rope on yours or not. But I'm just using the very tip of that liner brush, and I just roll it in that paint that holds all those bristles together. And just loop it on there. And I'm going to take on that one, I got it really light in here. I'm going to add some more dark in the center of that. That makes it look a little bit flatter on top with that round circle for that rope on the outside. All right. When I get that done, I'll be done with my fence posts, and then we can add some greenery there into the front. Okay. So we're going to put some greenery in. You can use your liner brush. You could use your fan brush. I gave my liner brush away. Here, let me grab this one. And so you can have as much greenery down here as you want. You can load that fan brush up into some green, and you can come off from the bottom and kind of lift off unevenly by your fence posts. And you're going to pick up some of the brown from the posts. If you want some long wispy greenery in here, some little flowers. You can take your liner brush and you can roll it in that liquid white, and you can roll it in that green. You could also roll it in oil to thin it. I never use thinner in the house or in a building to thin my paint just because of the toxic. So I would either use the liquid white or oil medium or liquid or some kind of oil. But you can use your liner brush, and then you can go ahead and pull some stems up. Let it be real loose and so it's natural. Don't draw it. Hold that liner brush back. And then you can go into, you can wipe it off. You can go into some yellow, some red, and then just dab on the ends. You can even do green. Dab on the ends of those some color. And put in some little flowers. And then take a look and see if you need more greenery or more flowers. Do you have enough? You can have as few or as many. You can have as much greenery. Just do little taps. You can even put some like down in your grassy areas. Maybe there's some little ones way down in there. I don't know what's growing in your grass or growing by your posts, or, you know, you decide. Then take a look and see. You can have as few or as many. I get having fun flicking these up, and you know, I could have a ton of these. So don't get too carried away. But yeah, that's so much fun doing those. So do a few, stop and look, do a few, stop and look. I'm going to come around and check your paintings. When you have it the way you like it, then I've got a signing tool that you can use to sign your painting, or you can sign it with a liner. And then that will be the end of our class today. Anyway, thanks for coming today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.